Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Gabe, and today's video is going to be a comparison of the G80 and the F80 on track. Just a little background real quick. The F80 is a manual competition package, and the G80 is an auto ZF8 auto competition package as well. So the G80 is completely stock. The F80 has CR1s and running a track pad and upgraded brake fluid. So yeah, pretty minimal differences, I would say, or I would consider, based on what I'm about to tell you. But yeah, right off the bat, so we're gonna start with the F80. The camera that you're seeing right now is actually in the G80. Unfortunately, my F80 camera had died, so wasn't able to get any film of that car. But yeah, we'll talk about that car first. So right off the bat, you could tell the S55 was down on power compared to the S58, and you know, you'd expect that, but it seemed like there was a pretty big power gap. You know, with the G80 being as heavy as it is, you would think that the power difference would be, you know, you'd notice it, but very slightly. And that wasn't the case at all. It actually felt very powerful compared to the S55 in the F80. And yeah, it was, I wouldn't say it made the F80 feel any different, or made me feel any different about the F80 at all. But yeah, definitely something just to note. Also, with the F80, you know, it just feels like a very balanced car. It's very predictable when you get it sideways. It's very easy to reel in, and that's pretty much how the F80 is in any form. So if you mod the hell out of it like mine is, it's super easy to drift and predictable. And you know, in stock form, it was the same exact thing. Even with the manual trans, that doesn't make any difference. It just is a great car. It's really easy to drive on track and have a good time with. The manual transmission in the F80 was so much more engaging than the ZF8, and I'll talk about the ZF8 a little bit later. But if we're comparing it against the DCT, I mean, it's no comparison. It's like PDK and manual as well. It's like you could have a really solid transmission, but the funner one is always going to be the manual car. So I kept it in auto rev match mode as well, and that was just because I don't want to risk this guy's motor that he's trusting me to drive his car in. So I decided to let the computer do everything for me, and it was still fine. Still a great experience, and still a good time. So we're going to come up here on the sweeper, and you're going to see the McLaren go right off the track. This was Toby driving from RSR. Whoop! There he goes. Right off. Good driving, Toby. So yeah, transitioning to the G80. Right off the bat, you notice, you know, everyone was talking about not only the grill, but the weight. You know, oh, the car is so damn heavy, you know, I don't want to drive that. That is, you know, completely masked by whatever they did to this car. It just handles as if it weighs 500 pounds lighter than it does, honestly. Very surprising. You can tell it's a heavier car, but you can't tell that it's almost 4,000 pounds. Just put it that way. That's the easiest way to sum it up, and that's the most truthful way to put it. You know, I felt like I could still throw the car into corners and it do its thing. But it did feel a little squishy, you know, it did feel like, you know, there was actually some heft there to it, but overall, it was a decent car and it held its lines. So, another thing was the S58, going back to that motor that it has. It is a fucking rocket ship. There's no denying this car is fast. Not at all. If you heard anybody tell you the S58 is slow, they're being extremely biased or just a complete fucking idiot. Because this motor fucking rips, especially with the ZF8. There's like no turbo lag. Pretty much it's just picking up right after it just left off that last gear. So yeah, it's a very fast motor. Speaking of the trans is the biggest issue I have with this car, and it's been the biggest issue I've had with pretty much any car that has this trans. I'm not a fan of the ZF8 speed. I think it's extremely average. It's not a sports car transmission to me. I don't think of it that way. I really think BMW got rid of the dual clutch to save money, and that was pretty shitty because driving a dual clutch and driving this, the better experience is the dual clutch. I'm driving this car right now, as you can see in the video, and I'm shifting in manual, and I can't tell what fucking gear I'm in. The car doesn't make that much noise because the sound insulation is so good, but not only that, there's nothing to, like with the dual clutch, you know you're shifting because it pops you into the next gear, and you feel that thud in your back. It gets a little wild, you know, but the ZF8, you know, it just doesn't seem to give you any of that emotion that I really loved from the dual clutch. Obviously, it's not even a competition against a manual car. The experience is so much better in a manual car, but you know, comparing DCT to this, it's no contest. They should have kept the DCT, and they fucked up. But to end it, you know, I'm going to talk about something positive about this car, and which was a major issue on the F80 with track use, and that was the brakes. Any F8X car, whether it's the M2 competition, M2, M4, you know, pretty much anything in BMW's lineup had terrible brakes, absolutely garbage brakes. You could cook them in a couple laps and be done. And if you weren't done, you kept trying to push it, it just got dangerous. So with this car, as you see my GT3 pass, the braking zones for this car were the exact same as the GT3. A car that weighs almost 1,000 pounds more having the same braking zones as the GT3 is fucking insane, man. But the brakes are that good. Like I said, this is a complete stock car. Brake system has not even been touched once. And for it to have those same braking zones is incredible. So hats off to BMW for you know, stepping up big time with those brakes. Even if that rear piston or that rear rotor and caliper setup looks hideous, they still did a great job, and this car brakes on a dime. So if I was to choose one car out of the two, I think I'm taking the F80 M3 with a manual 6-speed, and I actually think that's going to be my next car. I think once I sell pretty much everything in the garage, I think I want to step up and get a manual F80. It was just such a good car to drive, such an enjoyable car, and the S55 is just a really reliable engine. So hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you guys next time. Later.